What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Sector for Nerds. I'm Ryan Brower, and today I'm here to have a chat with y'all about the Mandalorian Chapter 24, The Return. But first up, make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. If we do that, we will do a watch party live stream of an entire Star Wars trilogy. So I highly recommend that you guys subscribe. It's free and it really helps support me as a content creator. Okay guys, so let's get into the Mandalorian Chapter 24, The Return. And honestly, you guys, I kind of just want to give like my overall thoughts on it and just kind of let you know like how I'm feeling coming out of that finale. I just got done watching the episode. To be honest with y'all, I really did enjoy the episode. However, coming out of the episode, I didn't feel the satisfaction that I thought I was gonna feel. Like, I don't know how to describe it, and I don't necessarily know like what it is that felt off to me, but it was just like, I liked the episode, and then like towards the end, I'm like, why am I not feeling as satisfied as I should be? Maybe it has to do with the fact that like, this season as a whole, like I know there's been a lot of complaints about season 3 and I've seen it, and like there have been episodes in season 3 that I did enjoy, but then there were some episodes, you know, that I thought were either okay or I didn't enjoy as much. So it's like maybe that has something to do with it. I loved all the action scenes. I loved the Mandalorians fighting the Dark Troopers during that big jetpack fight. That was pretty cool. Seeing Mando fight Moff Gideon again, and then the Praetorian Guards getting involved, and then Bo coming to save Din, Din going to help Grogu take on the Praetorian Guards. Like, that stuff was cool. Seeing Moff Gideon fight Bo-Katan was cool. I didn't appreciate how he broke the Darksaber. Like, at first I was like, oh crap, whoa, oh my gosh. But then afterward I'm like, actually I didn't really like that. I didn't want the Darksaber to get destroyed. I didn't want it to not be a factor. And then like Grogu getting the name Din Grogu or whatever, I thought that was kind of lame. Like, everybody better stop calling him that. Like, just call him Grogu. Grogu sensed the Mythosaur, which I think that was another thing that I guess I was kind of like, I wonder why this didn't play a big factor in the finale, because it felt like we were setting up the entire season for this Mythosaur to get involved, and then it never did. So that kind of felt like a letdown. The other thing that confused me is, who is the spy? Because last week's episode was called The Spies, or so I guess plural, right? Who the fuck were the spies? This episode was called The Return. So that to me spells two things. Either like the return like to Mandalore, or what happens at the end of the episode, the return of IG-11. I feel like the whole thing with Moff Gideon's clones was a bit of a waste of time, because it just, like, it did nothing. Like, they were there and then they blew them up and they weren't there. And then, like, where did Moff Gideon go? Like, he said, I will deal with him myself, but then he's nowhere to be found. Din gets back to the bridge, and then Moff goes back to the bridge. He's like, you killed my clones that were apparently force sensitive, but I guess it really doesn't matter, does it? So this is something that I did appreciate about the ending of the episode, and maybe something that will help make season 4 better than season 3, because like, I'm looking back on it, and while there were episodes that I did enjoy in season 3, I think season 3 has overall been my least favorite season. The idea of Mando going by himself again and becoming a bounty hunter. And I think that was like part of the cool factor about seasons 1 and 2, is just like him and Grogu going on these adventures together. And then like you meet people along the way and you forge all these relationships and people to go back to, you know, you see characters that you've seen in the past and whatnot. I felt like seasons 1 and 2 did like a really good job of that. And I feel like with this season, I felt like took the spotlight off of Din. I think season 4 is going to put the spotlight back on him. And not that I haven't enjoyed the spotlight being on other Mandalorians, like having Bo-Katan in there being a big factor, like that was pretty cool. Now, I'm honestly surprised that she didn't turn on him. I thought that's what we were kind of leading to. Clearly, I was mistaken there. But I think it's time to get back to like what I felt made The Mandalorian so special, and that's just Din and Grogu going on these adventures. And I know, like, there were people back when season 1 was going around that, like, hated those 3 middle episodes, because it's like, well, he's not doing anything. It's like, well, he is doing something. He's, like, making his way through the galaxy, trying to establish a life for himself. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, just because it didn't factor into the Navarro stuff doesn't all of a sudden just make it filler. Like, you're not just gonna stay in the same freaking place the entire show. Like, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, we see Mando go into the New Republic bar, and I'm like, ooh, okay. And I'm like, oh, I see Dave in there. That's pretty cool. No Zeb, unfortunately. No Zeb. He must have just gone away. Whatever. But Din talks with our guy, who has been helping us for a while now. Like, he's the one. It's like, you know, there's a lot going on in the galaxy right now, and if y'all don't freaking pay attention, it's gonna be too late. So I got a feeling that Blue is going to end up joining the Resistance. And I think that's what we're going to start to set up in season 4, right? Is like the difference between perhaps the New Republic and the Resistance. Because Din is like, look, I want to do missions for you, but and sort of do it on behalf of the New Republic. But I'm going to be like an independent contractor, so don't, you know, like, you don't have to let them know that I'm here. It's just like, let me just kind of do my thing in the shadows. You know what I'm saying? Like, that'd be pretty cool. He's going to be selective on what missions he goes on because of Grogu, but I think it's going to lead to, like, you know, him getting into some kind of trouble and whatnot. But I guess what I'm going to be also curious about, you guys, is who the main villain of season 4 is going to be, because I mean, I assume, right, that Moff Gideon is now officially dead. I wouldn't have minded him coming back for season 4. Like, I said it last episode, I'm not sick of Moff Gideon. I wish he would have had more to do in this season. Yeah, I can understand where, like, something did feel a bit off about season 3, and not that there weren't episodes that I didn't enjoy. I loved the first episode of the season. The episode with the pirates was amazing. The episode with the Order 66 scene with Grogu, that was pretty cool. Last week's episode, I really enjoyed. But again, I think it's sort of in taking the spotlight off of Din and placing it on an entire faction of Mandalorians. Again, as cool as it kind of was for a bit, I think it's time we get back to what I feel made The Mandalorian so special. But you know what? Hey, maybe when it comes to Din, turnabout is fair play, because Din became the center focus of a show that wasn't his, called The Book of Boba Fett, and now other people are taking center stage in his show, so now he can say that he knows what it feels like. I still think that having Grogu in this season was a bit of a mistake. I think you could have easily brought him back by that finale episode and not necessarily make him a Mandalorian, but like kind of just, you know, what the Armor was saying, right? Like, you know, take him on adventures as you once did. You have like this big, you know, reuniting moment, like, oh my gosh, it's been so long and everything. Like, it would have been cool. Yeah, guys, I know it sounds like I'm being really negative on this episode, but again, like, I did enjoy it. I did enjoy the majority of the episode. I loved the scene with the jetpacks and everybody doing that stuff. I loved the scene where Din was fighting the Dark Troopers, like, one by one with the shields and stuff, right? Like, he's like, R5, deactivate the shield. And he'd take on 2 of them at a time, and then he'd deactivate another shield, take on another 2, and I love how he, like, had to pick up their weapons and use them because he ran out of his own. What I found really cool was, like, the first set of troopers he faced, he threw a knife at one of them, like he would normally do, right? Like, it's one of his signature moves. But then he kind of realizes, like, oh shoot, I don't have any more weapons, I need that knife, and then he falls down and it's like he can't get to it. But that's when he takes the other troopers' weapons and starts using those. So I thought that was also a really cool scene. Din and Grogu working together to take out the Praetorian guards, like, that was crazy. I genuinely forgot that they were there. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, y'all are here. I liked seeing Bo versus Moff Gideon, which I predicted was going to happen last week. I loved what they did with Axe in this episode, him being the diversion, like, I'm going to draw everybody away. And I thought he was going to sacrifice himself and die, but no, he, like, you know, shot the window, got himself out of there. So I'm like, all right, there we go, good. Koska Reeves had a couple of good moments in this episode. Shout out to Mercedes Monet, aka Sasha Banks. I still want more from her. Maybe I'm just biased, I don't know. Could you imagine if they brought Gideon back again? Like, he was in the fire, right? Like, he's wearing Beskar. He could have survived, right? I mean, probably not, though, because, like, Grogu was the one saving Din and Bo from the fire, which was funny, because, like, they tried to shield him, but then in the result, he just ends up shielding them. Like, it was kind of funny. Speaking of funny, the Mouse Droids taking on R5, that was hilarious. One goes away, and then, like, 4 or 5 of them come back. I'm like, oh no, R5. But it's all good, because he got on his, like, you know, rocket boosters. He got out of there. I'm very curious to see where we go in season 4 of this show. Like, if we're gonna start to see, like, if we are gonna start centering it more back on Din and maybe a little bit more on Grogu as well, like, what does it mean for Grogu to be both a Mandalorian and a Jedi? I think we're going to get to a point where Grogu starts tapping into the dark side, whether he realizes it or not. Every Force wielder, I feel like, has to face the dark side at some point, and I feel like that is going to play a factor in Mandalorian Season 4. Another thing that we have to take into account as well, you guys, is before we get to Mando Season 4, we've got 2 other shows that are going to be released in the Mandoverse, and that's Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew. What factor are those 2 shows going to play in the Mandalorian's journey? Are we going to see Mandalorian make an appearance in any of those shows? I don't know if we're going to see him in Ahsoka, but I could very well see him making an appearance in Skeleton Crew. Maybe in Season 4, if he doesn't cameo in any of those shows, we'll see those guys cameo in his show. So yeah, you guys, while I may not have been too satisfied coming out of the finale, even though, again, I did enjoy the episode, I do think that Season 4, I'm very excited for, and I'm very excited to see where they take the story from here. I really hope that certain people at Lucasfilm that made the decision to bring Grogu back early stays out of the storytelling process and just lets John and Dave tell the stories that they want to tell. And I do think that because Grogu and Din are back together and a certain president of Lucasfilm got what she wanted, I think maybe she'll take a step back now, hopefully, and just let John and Dave do their work. I'm still very excited for the future of the Mandoverse, you guys. I know there's been a lot of people that have been let down by Season 3. I really do get that, and I do understand that. What I would encourage people is that I don't, like, to say that, like, oh, this has ruined the Mandoverse, or, oh, this has ruined Star Wars. We're not at that point yet, you guys, trust me. At least with this show. Like, if you want to make an argument for other parts of the Star Wars universe that, like, oh, these guys are ruining Star Wars and, you know, whatever. Like, you want to think that way, fine. But I do think that with this Mandoverse, you guys, there is so much potential here. This is the decade of the Mandoverse. I really do believe that. And I think that, and I've said this in a previous video before, talking about, like, the future of, you know, where I think Star Wars is going with my my Star Wars Celebration video, that I think maybe the 2030 decade could be all about the Old Republic, or that's just kind of me hoping anyway. But yeah, this is the decade of the Mandoverse, and it's something that I'm very excited to see how it continues to play out on Disney+. But hey, let me know what you guys thought about this finale in the comments below. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel. Remember, I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year, you guys, and it would be greatly appreciated if I can do that. Share this video with others to help support the channel, and I will see you guys next time.
This is the way.
This is the way.